Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of me boiling alive in my apartment. Holy shit, what a stupid, humid doozy of a day. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, do not fear, I shall persevere, because I want to tell you all about Days of the Lost, a brand new studio album, a debut album in fact, from the Halo Effect. A Swedish melodic death metal supergroup with a big-time emphasis on super, because, as it turns out, every single member of the Halo Effect has performed with the one and only Inflames at some point in history. For instance, on drums and bass respectively, you have Daniel Svensson and Peter Ayers, who both were a part of the band from 1998 up until 2015, 2016. Sharing guitar duties, you have Niklas Englund and Jesper Stromblad, the former of whom worked with Inflames over the course of the past decade, namely on records like Siren Charms, Battles, and I the Mask. The latter of whom not only contributed to classic recordings like The Jester Race, Horacle, Colony, Clayman, and many more, but was also a founding member of Inflames. And rounding out the lineup on lead vocals is Michael Stan, who, granted, is probably best known for his work as the longtime lead singer for Dark Tranquility, another Swedish melo-death icon, but Inflames connoisseurs, true fans, true fanatics will remember that Michael performed lead vocals on Inflames' very first album, Lunar Strain, way back in 1994. Put very simply, the Halo Effect isn't just a supergroup. They aren't just yet another Swedish death metal band. They're basically Inflames 2.0. One could even argue that the very existence of the Halo Effect is in some form a response, dare I say even a retaliation to Inflames. Now, to be fair, members of the Halo Effect insist that this is not the case. They insist that there is no bad blood or rivalry between Inflames and the Halo Effect. With Peter Ayers saying, word for word on the Back Lounge podcast, the Halo Effect started out of love for music, not at all to spite anybody or to create some rivalry, nothing like that at all. And it needs to be said, and it probably will be said a bunch of times. The love for music and the love for each other is 100% what it's all about. And look, I don't want or mean to suggest that Peter is lying per se, that he is intentionally misleading us when he says this, because I do not think that that is the case. But I will heavily imply, based on the urgency of this record and the quality of this music, that this is still very much a response and a retaliation to Inflames, because this is significantly better than nearly everything Inflames has put out in the past decade. Which, granted, is not an especially difficult task to accomplish. I mean, records like Siren Charms, Battles, I the Mask, Clayman 2020, not exactly S-tier material for Inflames. But even so, I stand by my point. Those records in their best moments are simply not as strong as Days of the Lost, even in its worst moments. Title track Days of the Lost, for instance, is a slick, sexy, moody, melo-death anthem of epic proportions. It would not at all be out of place on any classic Inflames record. Packed with twin guitar leads and harmonies, sneering vocals, an incredibly simplistic but incredibly punchy, catchy, dynamic chorus. It's everything you kind of want from like that classic 90s Swedish melo-death sound and style. There's also the needless end, which just continuously explodes over and over with epic, thunderous, heavy metal riffery and mayhem. Then there's the needless end, which just constantly, consistently explodes with epic, heavy metal riffery and mayhem. This song sounds like lightning striking the tip of a mountaintop. This song sounds like charging into battle with a sword in hand. I particularly like the post-chorus breakdown right around the 2.5 minute mark. It appears to sport a little bit of a prog metal underbelly with some moody, flashy guitar work and some slower beats, building up a lot of tension, a lot of atmosphere, a lot of drama. On a somewhat similar note, the following track, Conditional, appears to sport a little bit of a neoclassical underbelly with some, like, delicate, heavy metal twin guitar leads opening the track on a very tender and atmospheric note before then just kind of punching through with some more vintage Gothenburgian melo-death fury. You also have tracks like In Broken Trust and A Truth Worth Lying For, which are a little bit more introspective and gloomy lyrically, and as such, there are some more mournful, clean vocals in the chorus that make it all the more evocative and impactful. Definitely leaning towards more classic Dark Tranquility vibes than we are classic Inflames vibes on these cuts, but I'm not complaining because I like Dark Tranquility too, and frankly, this provides a little bit of variety and flexibility to the record that it really, really, really fucking needs. Like, as strong as everything is, as strong as the music is, the production, the performances, it is ultimately somewhat run-of-the-mill and cookie-cutter melodic death metal. For me as well, I found that this made the record somewhat predictable even on my very first listen. There was nothing that really caught me off guard or really shocked me or really wowed me. I was entertained, but I didn't feel the desire to come back around like multiple times afterwards because there was nothing that really like blew me away. I would also add that Shadow Minds makes for a somewhat underwhelming and unimpressive album opener. Last of Our Kind, while a solid slice of early 2000s melo-death, does lean a little bit too far into metalcore for my liking, with a very flat and uninspired breakdown closer to the end. I also don't care much for some of the electronic beats and drum patterns that are scattered across the record, like in the aforementioned Shadow Minds. Overall, I would give this an extremely, insanely, ridiculously enthusiastic 3 out of 5. We're talking a razor-thin margin, by the way, between a 3 out of 5 and a 3.5 out of 5. I was thoroughly entertained by this record while it was on, but the moment it was finished, I found I had no real reason to return to it, and I only did so because I was making this video. As I said before, this still blows everything Inflames has done in the past decade out the fucking water, period, end of fucking story. I think to some extent Inflames might even be semi-aware of this because their most recent singles have been a lot more urgent, a lot more epic and heavy, more in line with what, well, the Halo effect somewhat coincidentally is doing right now. Granted, it is probably nothing more than a coincidence that Inflames is going back to their roots at the exact same time in which the Halo effect is dropping, you know, something very much in line with classic Inflames, but it is a fascinating coincidence nonetheless. I look forward to seeing where this rivalry / not rivalry takes both bands in the futures. I kind of look forward to seeing how the new Inflames album compares to this Halo Effect album. I look forward to seeing how these two bands continue to challenge each other. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be spicy. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.